Caner Universe, Joe Urbina here of American Cane Self Defense, and what a treat we have for you today as part of our ongoing series where we're featuring personalities that make up American Cane Self Defense, and today none other than Coach Aaron Baulch, ACSD certified cane coach out of Tulsa. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm just happy to be here. This is awesome.
Indeed. Thank you for your time today. I'm going to jump right in honor of our time. And you have a very diverse background. Give us a little bit of your background, both in the way that you serve, but also you're an elite athlete. Mm-hmm. I think that's a very interesting tie into the cane, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I currently, well, I guess the athlete part. So I was a basketball player, and I played basketball into junior college, and realized at some point that needed to shift. And I started lifting weights and fell into personal training when I was about 19 years old, and 19 or 20, and really fell in love with bodybuilding then. And just the challenge that it gave me. Ultimately ended up reaching a national level as a super heavyweight, which super heavyweight is anywhere over 225 pounds. And I won the Southwest USA when I was 30, and I was about 240 pounds then. And what's interesting is I was 30 years old then, and that's what I weighed this morning, and I'm 51 now. So yeah, but during that time, my biggest weight was just a little over 300 pounds. And that's, it wasn't the prettiest of 300, but it's muscle. Like, I moved around at a pretty big size.
You are what we refer to as a physical specimen. You're 6 feet tall. Yeah. You're way over 240 pounds. And recently you competed, you kind of made a comeback there very successfully. How long ago was that?
That was about 2 months ago. I decided.
And what was body fat there?
I'm going to say it was around 6 or 7%.
So do the math, right? So for those of you that are listening, if you're weighing 240, between 240, 260, you're coming in at this body fat, single digit, 6-7%. This guy is like a physical stud muffin, right? So
the difference was on the day of this, I weighed in at 225. So if you can kind of, that's some craziness, but
a lot of mass.
Right. I weighed in at 225, and then about 6 weeks ago, I weighed 260. And now I'm coming back down because I have another goal of like pushing it way down into the low 200s and competing in a different class. Okay. So for me, it's the challenge of being able to understand what my body can do and what we are all capable of if we just set our minds to it and really, get on a program. And that's what the challenge is. So, and really the reason that I came back, Joe, is because I felt like I had some unfinished business on the stage, but also the show happened to be 2 miles away from my house in Oklahoma. And it's one of the biggest shows in the United States for national qualifiers. So I'm officially qualified for Masters Nationals in anything that I want to compete in as of right now for 2 years. And so, yeah, it's cool. And I get to help a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life in living a better lifestyle.
Without a doubt. And congratulations on that big win. What in the world is a 6 foot, 240 something pound fellow? Why are you in need of a cane? Because you certainly don't need it to ambulate. What's going on there? How did you come to this thing?
So one of the funniest questions, and I don't remember exactly who it was, but when he listens to this, he'll remember it was in one of the last couple groups. But he raised his hand and said, I have a question during the Cane at Home Challenge. And it was maybe week 4. And one of the things that we always say, and we talk about, is the cane is used against somebody could be used against somebody that's bigger, younger, faster, or stronger than you, right? And he said, I just want to know, like, who's bigger and stronger than you and why you would need your cane. And, it's a great question, but I came across the cane. I was introduced to it in another system and a few years ago. And then when the original lockdown happened, I was kind of looking for something to explore and learn and do. I came across, like so many people, your videos, Joe, and then it was our conversation though that really solidified it for me, because our backgrounds are so much the same, and helping people and athletic backgrounds and lifting, and your academic background is just a lot of the same. And so we just hit on the same cylinders really. And so it made so much sense to me as a self-defense tool, but it really made sense to me as a mobility tool, and to help other people learn how to not only challenge their body, but challenge their brain and challenge their balance as well.
Yeah. And I remember that conversation clearly. And a part of it was you have trained. So say a little bit about the capacity in which you've served in terms of movement. Who's the typical individual in terms of demographics that you were serving before you came in? And what role does the cane and this curriculum in particular play in that capacity?
Yeah, so I also serve a population that is mostly, I'm going to say over 40, but it's really, for me, it's probably over 55. But right, but I have younger folks that they just want to move better, or they've come to me in really serious pain, and so movement is how we get that done. We help them through that over time. But I was fortunate after my bodybuilding career. I left the sport, and I always say I didn't want to see a chicken breast. I didn't want to see a protein shake. I was done, and I bartended my way across the western part of the country, and just saw a lot of things, and then eventually my system, all the muscle that I had put on, started to tear my skeleton apart from the inside out, because I literally just stopped one day and didn't do anything. And so the years caught up, and I started having all kinds of pain. I won't go into that, but it was just craziness. And so I had moved to Tulsa by that time. My son was about to be born, and I found a yoga class, and I was trying to lift weights. And I won't make this really long, but every time I would lift, I would tweak something. It didn't feel right, even though technique-wise I'd been taught really well. And so yoga was something that started my movement journey. That was in January of 2009. And I went maybe 3 years into yoga, lots of different practices, and found myself then learning the kettlebell. And the kettlebell was a big jump for me as far as using a tool set that was different than traditional weights. And it was mobile, stable, and strong, and conditioning all wrapped into one. So those two things started coming together. And then I was really fortunate to study with a lady named Katie Bowman, and who we talked about. And Katie is simply one of the best in the game as far as restorative exercise therapy. And she became a mentor. And everybody always said that I don't look like the typical guy teaching restorative exercise to people. And I never have fit that mold, except for probably mentally, and like with patience and the way that I see things. So the cane, when introduced to it, it fit all the bills. I mean, it just did. It's a way that somebody that maybe can't pick up a kettlebell yet, even after they've done all of their mobility, they can get up and down off the ground, at whatever level it is. Sometimes the kettlebell is just too heavy. It's just, they aren't ready for that once they come to standing. And so the cane is something they can hold, they can feel. It's tangible. Plus it has all of these benefits as well. And that's what I found right away. I mean, I was blown away. I mean, I was blown away early on, like so many are in the Cane at Home Challenge. And it's why I feel so blessed to be able to share it today.
Let's talk about those benefits. Because you have experience in a variety of disciplines, physical, mind, body disciplines, and you're a movement expert. Then you come to this. What would you say? What do you enjoy most about caning, and what would you say makes it different from these other modalities?
Well, number one, it can help us in some kind of possible confrontation. I can't carry a kettlebell in the airplane. I can't. That right. And so that was. I
say, by the way, sorry to interrupt. I always say you can't burpee your way out of a gun to the head.
You can't go like this. Like I can't. Like
no.
It's like the deal we did for Coach Greg. You know, I don't care how big I am; it doesn't matter sometimes. You know, it's like, and so that was first. But I find it, and we've talked about this. I find that it stretches my boundaries in movement of things that I might shy away from, like dancing, right? Like something that I just may not do because I have such an athletic background that I'll tend to go right into what is the athletic thing here. You know, my brain goes there, but if I have to pull it back and ask my brain to learn this, practice this new skill, that's a challenge. It stretches me mentally. And then the mobility that happens from the shoulder, the internal and external rotation, not getting into all the science of it, but it just feels good to my upper body and to my hips, and the challenge of the brain. So,
and would you say it has a restorative component to it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I mean,
one of the things I enjoy most.
Yeah. And not only like restorative to we'll just say the limbs, the muscles and the joints, but man, mentally, it just restores the brain and the body connection. And we all sit too much and we're looking at our computers too much and our phones. And so we can get up, and then there's this amazing challenge that sits in front of us that we can carry each day, right? We can carry each day, which that's a challenge in itself to many, right? And it's with you. And then you learn all these great things. But when you start to move, then, and we've seen it time and time and time again, it doesn't take a lot, but big changes can happen.
Can you say just a little bit about the difference between exercise per se, for the sake of exercise, and movement with this cane?
Yeah, so
difference. In other words, I can use this for this, but there's a very cane training is brain training, and of course, right. If those of you that our viewers who are looking, they're not familiar with our curriculum, they don't get it. They're like, hey, this is just a stick, with a horn on it, and you whack people, and that's the end of it, and that's the extent of right. But when you come to ACSD and you start moving in there, I always say, people come for the self-defense benefits these days. I get that, but they stay for two things: the community and the pleasant surprises that they discover on this journey. Can you say a little bit about the difference between exercising and with cane?
Yeah. So I always like to say, if just behind me on the wall, you guys can see, or behind Joe, and he's got the banners. If I just there's like a dot right here, it's impossible to see, but if I just took a dot and I just drew a black dot there, that's exercise. That's exercise, meaning that, it's not that big. That means that I'm going to go to a gym and say I'm going to exercise or work out, and we're doing that. It's a pointed thing, but it's really pretty short as far as all the hours in the week, right? It's very short, very condensed. And so if we only did that 3 hours a week, then we're only getting, I don't know what that percentage is, but it's very small. And so, but as far as movement goes, movement is like this whole wall, because we're always moving. Our eyes are blinking, our skin's doing things, we're moving, our brain's thinking, all of these things. So we're always moving, doing something. I remember one time I was asked to close my eyes and stop and stand and stop moving. And in our mind, we're like, okay, I'm just going to stand there and stop moving. And they're like, yeah, you haven't stopped anything. You're still breathing. You're still like, your pores are doing things, your eyes are twitching, all these things. So moving then is all the time. And we simply want to learn and practice how to move more parts of ourselves more often. And then going one step further is, with the cane, we talk about all the time that we want to just do this in these nice short bursts. It doesn't have to be that I'm going to take my cane outside and I'm going to do an hour of doing an hour of cardiovascular work, or an hour of we don't have to do that. We can spend 5 to 10 minutes, 3 times a day. And now all of a sudden we're moving, and we're moving with lymph in our bodies, and we're getting circulation and all these great things by using, just this tool, right? and I don't have to go anywhere. I have it right with me all the time.
And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because the idea out there is that you have to go out there for an hour, or you have to, I always point out, you can get it done in 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes. Like you said, here's the key. When you have a curriculum in place and you know what you're doing.
Right.
And so let's talk a little bit about that, because there's two things. You went straight from your leader graduate, you became a coach. You were so into it, and you saw the value of it and how you could apply it in your own private practice. But that was only the beginning. You became the leader instructor for the headquarters. So you were offered a teaching position with ACSD headquarters. You are now, it's become kind of a bit of legend, because everybody knows and loves Coach Aaron. And you don't do you can't do a challenge without getting a ton of reviews about how great Coach Aaron is in all these things. So you have firsthand experience. Can you talk a little bit about the value of having that structure and a step-by-step curriculum? What happens without it?
Well, absolutely. You're just lost, and you end up going down some kind of crazy YouTube hole and just doing a bunch of things that aren't necessary. And again, one of the things that drew me to it and just kind of blew me away was the step-by-step process of the Cane at Home Challenge. And you do a little bit, and then it layers. You do a little bit, and then it layers. And there is no hurry. I mean, I remember the first time I heard you say, remain patient and be gentle with yourselves. And that's something that I say like almost every single day to people that I work with. And so the ability to remain patient, take your time, and then have this certain, like it's a goal or a task with each class, right? And then you're able to go practice that for a couple of days and come back. But I think that the coolest thing is it may be in real time, but it's also, here's the video coming at you later in the day, right? And so I can literally look on the screen and say, hey, so-and-so, it doesn't really, hey, Joe, let's get the elbow in, or let's, everybody just hang out a second. Let me show this again. And with the value of the curriculum, it makes it, and I'm not going to say easy because it's not, but it makes it much more simple to follow along and actually be successful.
Yeah. And
so I hope that answers the question, because I see people having these miniature successes, these mini successes kind of each time, each class. And then all of a sudden, and I know this, people that haven't done it, people that are listening to this that have done it will hear this. Week 3, early week 4, like magic happens to so many. It just starts to piece together, and they're like, oh, I start to see it. And then it's just really amazing to watch them.
Yeah. And by the way, week 3, week 4, Coach Aaron is talking about the Cane at Home 6-week challenge. As of this viewing, the next one starts September 13. I just go ahead and look people straight in the eyes, feel comfortable saying it. It is hands down the best way to get cane trained today, wherever you go. Just read the reviews and everything else from it. But it has a progression, and then you go through this leader. And then if you want to keep this going, then there's another curriculum, there's advanced. And if you want to keep that going, then there's masters, and then there's senior masters. Right. There's always something, the brain never gets bored of this. And, we talk a lot about anti-aging and how we use this for anti-aging. One of the things that I point out is when that fire dies out, where you no longer care to push that envelope, I don't care if you're in your 20s, you're done. And so this is something that keeps everything interesting. From that perspective, you're using it, so sure, if you have a brick and mortar location and you're making some transitions and everything, there's the beauty of this. We've alluded to it before, but for those who are watching who have the intention of becoming instructors, or maybe they're instructors now, but they're looking for a curriculum that they can deliver like this. Talk about the value of being an ACSD coach, cane coach, during pandemic times.
Oh, man.
You might be a lockdown away from this seriously affecting your business. Yeah.
So I when this I guess, became an opportunity, which was the cane empowerment coach, and to be part of that, I jumped on it. You know, it was just
right away.
I jumped on it, and it continues to kind of, I don't know, it just continues to kind of build and continues to kind of grow, and I know that the surface hasn't even been scratched yet, but what is really cool is that it translates as a coach. It translates. American Cane Self Defense, this system translates so amazing to the computer, to Zoom. Whereas I have friends that are self-defense instructors, and it doesn't, you can't go hand to hand with somebody at all on Zoom. So they were all scrambling, doing these really fun, cool things. Whereas at that time, Joe was already ready to go, and it was a natural transition. And so, you know, I can step out in front of my TV and I can coach my people. If they have to stay home, I can coach as a cane empowerment coach. I can coach my people on Zoom, and it's real time. It's real time, and I can see it. They can video it very simply, and they can send it right back into me, or it's just a real time coaching call, and people will get better right away. I mean, literally right there.
How effective is that? Because we have some. It's amazing how still today we'll get questions, and I speak again to people from all over the world every single day who are coming new to the cane, and they'll say things like, "Hey, but I don't have a cane instructor in my area." How effective? I mean, they're old school. How effective is this method? Using today's technology. And again, here's what's happening is those that are coming new, the instructors now and everybody else who's trying to figure this thing out. This is something we had already refined for decades, right? And
right.
It's already done. This is done. This is ready for you. So if you're coming in as an instructor, I don't care the level that you're at, this is just plug and play. How effective is this? Because we're at the end of the day an outcomes-based program. How effective is it?
Incredible. I mean, I can't tell you, Joe, you see them, but all you have to do is go look at you know, the testimonials. Yeah. And it's so many times I hear, I didn't know how, I had no idea how effective this could be on a web-based type platform on Zoom. And their people are blown away because of the way that it's done, where we have our classes on Monday and Thursday, and those classes, a lot of people in there, they're in the morning at 10 o'clock Eastern, and they run anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how many questions we have on a given day and how big the group is. But at the same time, it's being videoed from a secondary camera, and that secondary camera then picks it up, and then it goes, and we shoot that out with today's homework. And so people that are working, they can just catch the video later in the day. And so it becomes this really, really kind of well-oiled machine of how people can get it done. And they just don't expect the level of professionalism all the way around, I guess. But it's just, there's so much value coming at you so many different ways, and so many ways you can get it done.
Yeah, I would think they're surprised at how precise we can be across the big screen.
Oh, absolutely.
It happens in real time. And again, I don't want to overhype the community, but we have the best caning community. We're blessed to attract some of the kindest, neatest human beings on the planet when it comes to their care and support. You're certainly leading the way there. One last question would be those who are coming in. And again, you have now, you're the go-to guy. If people are coming in, they're coming into a 6-week challenge, September, whenever it is that they're doing it, they're going to be working with you. What would you say to those who are sitting on the fence, kind of considering it, and based on your experience, and those who maybe they're cane instructors themselves, but they want a different way of serving their audience effectively during these times?
Gosh, I would say if you're sitting on the fence, it's just go on to AmericanCaneSelfDefense.com or AmericanCaneSelfDefenseTulsa.com and read some of the testimonials of those that just were maybe feeling the same way that you were. And you'll see these amazing things that have been said about the course, and how we as the community embrace anybody new coming in. There's just support that comes from everywhere. And I think that right there for me, as far as in the community, that makes a big deal. Or it's a big deal because I love to see the support that happens from the group as they get to know each other. So
amazing.
Yeah.
And lifelong friendships that have ensued from this. It sounds crazy, but it's what's happening.
I mean, and there's some amazing stories of guys that had served together in the armed forces. I actually had a group, and there were three men that had served together in different units, and realized that they had helped each other during that time. And then they all want to get together, and it's just incredible. It just brings people together.
They started together at the leader. They moved on to advanced. Yes. I know those guys.
Yeah.
It's just
and just this morning, Joe. Just this morning that we had Australia.
Yep.
A gentleman from Australia. We had Arizona. We had New York. We had Oklahoma. I mean, it's just, and then all these people can come together, and they're right there, and they're there together twice a week, and then they get to interact on our Facebook page. Yeah. And the community it's just incredible. And then once you move into advance, if that's what somebody chooses, they're there together even longer, and so the community becomes even deeper, and friendships happen.
And all kinds of injuries and limitations, because that's the other thing we get. You're going to find caners in there with that need 2 canes to ambulate, and we have more of that situation more than one. We have those who have had stroke and cannot raise an arm on either side over their head. You have those with prosthetic legs, and these guys just become absolute stud muffins, where now others, it's unbelievable. Others look up to them because they're seeing that and they say, wow, they can do it like that. And, what's my excuse? And it's just a matter of the curriculum has a way to circumvent and work around all these injuries and limitations. So there is hope. We meet you.
It does. And then also too, just to reiterate, I mean, it's just, we get to allow them to slow down and patient with themselves and gentle, and we'll be with them until they cross the finish line.
Yep.
There really is no time frame. It's 6 weeks, but there is no time frame. I have guys that just now finished, I think, from like maybe 101, Joe. I mean, I had a couple.
Challenge to go
18 months ago.
ACSD policy, and they tell me, man, that's different. And that is that we vow to support you, guide you, give you the accountability and the correctives that you're going to need to cross the finish line, regardless of how long it takes. Once you're in for life. Very good. Well, guys, those of you that are listening, it all begins with a simple text. You would text the letters CCC, which stands for Cane Clarity Call, to 305-745-7839. The ACSD team will schedule you in less than 24 hours. We'll jump on a call. We will listen to you and then give you a blueprint and let you know how to make it happen based on whatever your goals with that cane is. Coach, thank you so much. This is, again, Coach Aaron Baulch out of Tulsa. He
is going to cane bump everybody.
Cane bump. That's right. That's right. Thank you so much for your time and attention today.
It's been awesome. Yeah, Joe always says, we're here if you need.
Always here when you need. Very good. Thank you so much, Coach. God bless.
Right.
Thank you.
Bye.